The red light in room 6. I was 23 when I took the night job at the roadside motel. It wasn't glamorous. 10 rooms, a broken ice machine, and a neon vacancy sign that pulsed like a dying heartbeat. But it was cash, and I needed cash. The owner, Mr. Patel, lived off-site and only came by in the mornings. My hours were from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Clean the lobby pot, fold the towels, check in drifters and sales reps, and keep an eye on the cameras. The office was a glass box bolted to the end of the building. One wall was a panel of old CRT monitors stacked 3 high, each tied to a feed that looked 20 years out of date. Gravel lot, vending alcove, stairwell, laundry, and the breezeways that ran past the room doors. In the corner was one polished, newer screen that split into 4 squares. Mr. Patel's upgrade, he called it, always with a proud little smile. He'd clicked a remote, showed me how to cycle views, and then said the line he liked to say twice. You watch them. They don't watch you. The first week passed quietly. One trucker cried in the lobby on speakerphone to someone he called Kiddo. A bachelorette party took room 3 and filled the hallway with clove smoke and laughter. A man in a suit checked into room 6 and never came out except for coffee. I logged plates, swapped trash bags, and filled a yellow legal pad with neat notes nobody would read. On the 8th night, I noticed something new on the upgraded screen, a tiny red dot glowing in the lower right quadrant. I thought it was a dead pixel until the dot flicked off, then on again, a steady, slow blink. I traced the feed with my eyes, the corner camera above the soda machine, and leaned closer. There was nothing unusual in the frame. A soda machine with a crooked Pepsi logo, a humming snack machine, a broom closet door, and a metal grate for the floor drain. The red dot kept pulsing. I pressed the remote, cycling views. The dot followed to whichever feed had the vending alcove. It wasn't on the glass. It was part of the picture, somewhere in the darkness, like the faint glow of an LED buried in shadows. I stood up, went outside, and walked to the alcove. The air smelled like cold sugar and old mop water. The shampooed carpet squished under my sneakers. There was no red light, just my reflection in the soda machine's glass. Pale, tired, hair in a bun I'd stopped caring about. Back in the office, the dot still blinked. Near midnight, a couple checked in to room 7. No luggage, only a duffel with torn handles. They didn't look at me or each other. The woman's nails were bitten to the quick. The man's knuckles were scabbed like he'd punched brick. They took the key and vanished down the breezeway. I wrote R7, quiet couple, cash in the ledger. The red light blinked on the screen. Around 2, the suit from room 6 buzzed the office phone. Do you have someone in the hall? He asked, voice flat, tired. No, I said, glancing at the monitors. Empty. Everything okay? You've got a camera, he asked. Several. Then you'll see him. Click. I looked. The breezeway for rooms 5 through 8 showed only a dead moth on the concrete, its wings like ash. I stepped outside again and listened. Nothing. No footsteps, no voices, just the interstate hissing a mile away and the steady tick of the ice machine trying to freeze itself back to life. I told myself the man in 6 was spooked or drunk. I made fresh coffee. The dot on the screen blinked. By 3, the motel had gone silent in the way only buildings without families can. Like there's no memory in their walls, only vacancy. I was filing expired credit card slips when a soft tap came from somewhere behind the monitors. I froze. Another tap. Then a slow drag, like a coin pulled along a tabletop by a magnet beneath. I stood, hands sweating into the receipt roll. The taps moved, a small, thoughtful rhythm, sliding from behind the monitors toward the side wall where the laundry room sat, then stopping. I waited, counting breath. The fluorescent bulb above me buzzed hard, then steadied. I remembered Mr. Patel telling me the ducts whined when the units kicked on. Buildings breathe, he'd said, like it was meant to comfort. The phone rang. I jumped and knocked over the pen cup. Every marker spilled like a tiny crash. I snatched the receiver. Yes? Static. Under it, a breath. It wasn't the heavy, obvious prank kind. It was a patient exhale from someone trying not to be heard. If this is a joke, I said, it's a bad one. A soft voice, too close to the mic. He keeps looking under the bed. The line went dead. My skin crawled in a dozen directions. I looked at the monitors again, forcing my eyes to scan in grids. Room 7's door was closed, a towel wedged under it to block hall light. The suit in 6 hadn't cracked his door. The lots were empty. Only the vending alcove stared back, and in its lower corner the little red dot pulsed like a heartbeat. I picked up the cordless and dialed Mr. Patel. He answered on the 3rd ring, voice thick with sleep. I told him everything. The red light, the calls, the tapping. He listened a long time without interrupting. That upgraded screen has motion alerts, he finally said. Red indicator means motion in frame. It's been blinking for hours. Yes, probably moths. It's not moths, he sighed. Do you want me to drive down? I wanted to say yes. Instead, I said, maybe just tell me how to turn the alert off. Remote. Blue button, top left, I pressed it. The red dot vanished. The vending alcove shrank to an ordinary square of the building, lifeless and harmless. My shoulders lowered an inch. Thank you, I said. Sorry to wake you. Remember, he said, already drifting back toward sleep. You watch them. They don't watch me, I finished. Right. I hung up and stared at the now quiet wall of screens. I listened for taps. The office clock ticked. Somewhere a compressor kicked on, rattling like a drawer full of forks. I felt foolish and young and stubbornly awake. At 4, the lobby door eased open. I hadn't heard footsteps. The woman from room 7 stood there in a motel towel, hair wet, eyes rimmed red. Her bare feet left little moons of water on the tile. Can I help you? I asked. Do you have extra shampoo? She said. Her voice was raw. She scratched her wrist until the skin went white. Sure. I reached under the counter, found the little bottles. When I straightened, she was staring past me at the monitors. Do those see inside? She asked. No, I said. Just the halls, lot, and shared spaces. Her shoulders slumped in a way that told me she would have preferred a different answer. She took the shampoo, turned to go, then glanced again at the screens. There's a little red light, she said. In our room. On the smoke detector. It wasn't there earlier. I felt cold crawl from my elbows to my fingertips. In room 7? She nodded. Wait here, I said, already reaching for the master key. She stepped aside, but she didn't sit. She hugged herself, leaving little damp crescents on her upper arms. The man from 7 didn't appear. The monitors showed nothing. I walked the breezeway alone. My breath fogged. The key slid easily into 7's lock. Inside it smelled of steam and the iron tang of old water. The bathroom fan hummed. The bedspread had a cigarette burn the size of a thumbprint. I looked up. The smoke detector was a pancake of white plastic with a test button in the center. To its left, nestled against the ceiling where the wall met plaster, a smaller off-white oval pretended to be part of the vent. A pinhole showed like a freckle. Next to it, barely visible unless you stood beneath and stared, a dot of red pulsed. I didn't move for a heartbeat. Then I reached up and pried at the little oval. It came away with a tacky sound of adhesive giving up. It was light in my hand, lighter than a real detector. On its back, no branding, just a shallow well for a battery and an SD card slot. The card was gone. The red light died when my thumb covered the pinhole. The shower turned off. I hadn't known it was running. The hair on my arms lifted hard. I looked toward the bathroom door. It was closed. Behind it, water pattered as if from a faucet that someone had left just barely on. I took a step toward the knob, then stopped. The fan wasn't humming anymore. All the sound was in my head, my blood, my breath. The red dot had tricked me into forgetting the room had other corners. Someone coughed behind me. I spun, heart smashing my ribs. The room was empty. The door I'd unlocked was still ajar, showing the slice of breezeway outside. The cough had been soft and dry, the kind someone makes to clear dust. I forced myself to scan the places I didn't want to. Under the bed, behind the drapes heap where the rod sagged, the closet. I pulled the closet open. A stack of spare blankets, a tipped vacuum, and at the very back, a narrow cutout that didn't belong, 2 feet wide and 7 feet tall, a rectangle of wallboard scored along its edges. Someone had sliced the drywall like a door and then pressed it back into place. On its right edge, a tiny hole. Not a camera. A finger hole. I didn't touch it. I backed into the hall and half ran to the lobby, key still in my fist. The woman watched me come, eyes searching my face for what I'd seen in hers. "Well?" she asked. "Pack your things," I said. "Right now. Take your boyfriend and leave." "Don't argue. He's not," she started, then stopped. Something like relief flickered. "Okay," she went. I grabbed the cordless and dialed the police, hearing my voice sound small and formal, and far away as I described an unauthorized device in a guest room. Possible voyeurism, a safety concern. The dispatcher said someone would be there in 20 minutes. On the monitors, room 7's door opened. The woman darted in and emerged with the duffel. Only the woman. She didn't wait for the man. She moved like she'd trained for it in her head 1,000 times. She disappeared toward the lot, and a minute later a car rolled past the office window, headlights off, and was gone. The vending alcove camera flickered. The red dot, which I'd turned off, blinked again. I reached for the blue button. Before I pressed it, the screen glitched into a thick field of static, and then, clear as if I stood in that stale carpet myself, a new image filled the feed. Not the soda machine, not the broom closet. A slice of the office. My own shoulder. The curve of my jaw where it met my ear. The camera had switched to a view I'd never seen, set at head height from somewhere just behind me. I turned slowly. There was nothing in the office besides me, the screens, the desk, the coffee pot cooling into old burn smell. The air seemed to thicken with the heat of electronics. The static rolled, then steadied. On the screen, my shoulder tensed. I lifted my hand. On the screen, the same hand lifted a beat too late, like I'd become my own lagging footage. A soft tap came from the laundry wall again. Then the sound of something thin sliding inside the drywall, a measured, almost polite movement, tracing the studs. It stopped where the wall met the office's back door. The door had 2 locks, a deadbolt and a chain. Only the chain was latched. The deadbolt was turned to open. I hadn't done that. The receiver rang in my hand, though I hadn't dialed out. I put it to my ear, the same soft voice as before, barely a whisper, amused now. "You watch them." The line clicked. Very slowly, I moved to the back door and slid the deadbolt into place. I checked the front. I engaged that deadbolt too. I stood in the middle of the office where I could see every square of camera feed at once, like a human lighthouse. The police came 15 minutes later. 2 officers, both young, both trying to look older. I showed them room 7, the fake detector, the finger hole. They photographed everything, pulled at the scored drywall with gloved hands, until the rectangle came away like a lid. Behind it, a narrow service chase ran the length of the building. Footprints patterned the dust in a careful line, one after the other, pausing at gaps where vents had been cut into room ceilings. Small ovals with adhesive rims, the kind a person could hide behind and watch without being seen. The chase ended at the laundry, where old repair cuts led into the office wall. The officers shone lights into the dark, then glanced back at my screens. On the upgraded feed, the vending alcove showed nothing but soda and emptiness. No red light, no lagging shoulder, just a hallway like any other. They took statements. They promised a follow-up. They told me I could go home when Mr. Patel arrived. I nodded, but I didn't leave. I waited with the coffee and the screens and the humming lights until the sun pushed a pale line under the blinds and flattened the motel into something almost kind. Mr. Patel came red-eyed and apologetic. He patted my shoulder, told me I'd done the right thing, told me again that the building breathed, that sometimes old places held on to oddities the way old men hold on to stories. He shut off the upgraded screen and said he'd get someone to simplify the system. He said it twice. I quit that afternoon, packed the few things from my locker, and gave Mr. Patel the key fob. He shook my hand like I was leaving a family. The next night, in my apartment, I couldn't sleep. Every smoke detector looked wrong. Every hum in the walls sounded like a held-back cough. I got up and took the battery out of the detector in my bedroom, then felt stupid and put it back. When I lay down, I faced the door so I could see the chain move if it moved. Somewhere in the building, a pipe ticked. Somewhere on the street, a car door closed. I told myself I was safe. I tried to believe it. In the dark, my phone lit up with an unknown number. I let it ring until the voicemail caught it. A moment later, the notification arrived. I pressed play and listened to the hiss of a line too close to a mouth. Then, soft and patient, like someone laying a coin on a table and pulling it toward the edge with a magnet. "They don't watch you." A second of silence. "They never did." Then a little click, like a deadbolt slipping open.